Hey everyone, and welcome right back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking something literally life-changing. We're looking at how tiny, hyper-deliberate micro-habits can take someone from barely scraping by all the way to standing firmly in the top 1%. We're going to decode what's known as the Rich Life Framework, and this is completely derived from the real-world playbooks of some wildly successful people. So get ready, because these 8 habits are absolutely crucial. They are purely focused on actionable, no-nonsense steps for massive financial and personal growth. To really grasp the power of this, you've got to hear the story of Dean Graziosi. Picture this. You're dealing with your parents' divorce at age 3, chopping firewood as a teenager just to keep the lights on, and by 19, you're a dyslexic mechanic living in a broken-down truck. Because things were so financially tight, he was actually evicted from his home 20 times. 20! People constantly labeled him as the kid who would just never amount to anything. But jump forward to today, and he's a multimillionaire entrepreneur and a New York Times bestselling author. Now, the bridge between those two completely different realities, it wasn't luck. It was a very specific set of habits. All right, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to break this Rich Life Framework into 2 distinct phases. First, mastering your internal mindset. And second, controlling your external execution. And then we'll wrap it all up with a 7-day challenge to get you moving. So, Section 1. From poverty to true wealth. The broken truck classroom. Look, Dean didn't just sit around freezing in that truck hoping for a lucky break. He made a hard choice that his past was not going to dictate his future. So he literally turned that busted truck into a classroom. He dragged a tape recorder in there, piled up some books, and just started absorbing everything he could from mentors. He realized pretty quickly that small daily habits are what actually compound into massive results over time. Which leads us to Section 2, RICH, Master Your Mindset, Building the Internal Foundation. Because honestly, before you can take external action and see real financial growth, you absolutely have to rewire how you think. Now, this internal foundation is built on 4 core pillars that conveniently spell out RICH. We've got reason, inner voice, crafting stories, and honing strengths. Let's break these down, starting with R. R is for reason. You absolutely need a compelling why. Because without a rock-solid reason, any good habit you try to build is going to vanish the second life gets hard. Take Nick Woodman, for example. In his 20s, huge surfer. He wanted a camera to capture his runs, so he rigged up this makeshift one. But of course, a massive wave hits and the camera, along with all those memories, is swallowed by the ocean. That crushing little moment, that became his burning reason. He decided right then and there to build a camera that could survive the water. And to fund it, without begging Silicon Valley investors, he literally sold seashell necklaces out of his van. That relentless reason birthed GoPro, a multi-billion-dollar empire. So to find your true reason for wanting wealth, try this. Ask yourself why 7 times. Just keep going deeper with every single answer until you hit the real core. And that brilliantly sets up our I, inner voice control. Look, we all have that nagging voice in our head saying we aren't smart enough, right? Well, John Paul DeJoria was homeless twice. No degree, 0 savings, no backup plan. Everyone told him he was done for. But instead of buying into that negativity, he completely silenced that voice. He told himself, I am not homeless, I am preparing. I am not worthless, I am becoming something. By taking control of his inner voice, he let these powerful guiding thoughts take the wheel. And you know what? He eventually built the massive Paul Mitchell empire. Then there's C for craft powerful stories. Your life is fundamentally shaped by the stories you tell yourself on repeat. Think about Chris Gardner, the real guy whose life inspired the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. He was a broke, homeless single dad. He had every excuse in the book to write a story of defeat. Instead, he completely shifted the narrative. He saw that stockbrokers were building immense wealth, so he started telling himself a totally new story. I am not just broke, I am a future stockbroker. He created that vision and wrote himself as the hero. You are the author of your life, guys, so write a story that actually empowers you. 400. Seriously, just think about that number for a second. That staggering figure represents the global empire built by Richard Branson. Over 400 companies under the Virgin Group. And this perfectly nails the H in RICH, honing your strengths. Growing up, Branson was dyslexic. His teachers called him lazy. But instead of desperately trying to fix his weaknesses, he just went all in on his natural gifts, his vision, his creativity, his crazy tolerance for risk. He just hired other people to handle his weaknesses, like doing all the complex math during board meetings. Because the world doesn't reward you for being mediocre at a bunch of things, it rewards you for being world-class at one specific thing. All right, let's move into the second half of our explainer. Section 3, LIFE, control your actions, executing in the real world. This is where we take that newly minted mindset and actually execute to create tangible wealth. These 4 external actions, learning every day, inputs and environment, focused rituals, and executing boldly, these are the actual engines driving your growth. Let's start with L. $19 billion. With a B, that is what Facebook paid to acquire WhatsApp. And it's the perfect representation of L, learn every day. Most people just stop learning the second they finish school, but highly successful people, they treat self-education like oxygen. Jan Koum, WhatsApp's founder, moved to the US at 16. His family was surviving on food stamps. No fancy schooling whatsoever, but he was insanely curious. He taught himself to code just by reading used books and hanging out on free online forums. That daily habit of self-education led to an app that completely changed how the entire planet communicates. Just 1 hour of learning a day can literally put you miles ahead of everyone else. Next up is I for inputs and environment. Look, willpower is great, but it fades. Your environment, though, that is always working on you. Beware what we call the input trap, surrounding yourself with people who just aren't as driven as you are. Like the old saying goes, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in a cage. To build a true growth environment, you have to ruthlessly curate your space. Dean Graziosi figured this out early. He completely stopped watching the news to cut out the negativity, and he started joining masterminds instead. And hey, even if you don't have highly successful people physically around you right now, you can completely curate a digital environment with mentors and online communities that force you to level up. F is for focused rituals. Doing a good thing once doesn't change your life. Making it an automatic ritual does. Billionaires like DeJoria and Graziosi swear by highly structured morning routines, and they aren't random at all. Usually it looks kind of like this. Step 1, morning grooming. Get ready for the day. Step 2, expressing gratitude and actually setting your intentions. And step 3, journaling and getting some physical movement in. They don't do this just to check a box. They do it to train their brains for success, locking in a disciplined, positive start that requires absolutely zero external motivation. And finally, the E in LIFE, execute boldly. Honestly, this is the whole shebang. All the mindset shifts, the reading, the morning rituals, they mean absolutely nothing if you don't take action. So start messy. Seriously, action creates clarity. Endless learning without actually applying it, that just creates the illusion of progress. Dean didn't just passively listen to tapes in his freezing truck. He went out and applied it. Even if you only apply 1 out of every 10 things you learn, you've got to execute boldly. Do not sit around waiting for perfect clarity, because I promise you, it never comes without action. Which leads us to our final section, Section 4, the 7-Day Success Challenge, moving from theory straight into practice. It's time to put the spotlight completely on you and what you're doing next. So I'm going to leave you with this one provocative question. Which one of these 8 rich life habits are you going to choose to relentlessly execute for the next 7 days? Please don't try to do all 8 at once. Just pick one. Maybe you need to dig deep and find your compelling reason, or maybe you're finally going to start that focused ritual tomorrow morning. Pick one, execute it boldly for just 7 days, and prove to yourself that you are actually capable of true transformative growth. There's a winner inside of you. Now go out there and get that first win. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.